I have bad news and good news. The bad news is that you're probably making at least a couple of these 5 big mistakes that I'm going to share with you today. The good news is that when you recognize them, it's the first step towards fixing them. And so if I can hopefully point you in the right direction by helping you identify some challenges you're facing, some mistakes you're making, I can also point you towards the solutions that are going to help. Welcome to Daily Discovery Calls for Financial Advisors, the first and only show dedicated exclusively to helping entrepreneurial, growth-driven financial advisors book more discovery calls with qualified prospects every day of the week. I'm your host, Roy Furr, the Advisor CMO. Let's get into it. Welcome back for the next episode of Daily Discovery Calls for Financial Advisors. I'm Roy Furr, the Advisor CMO. Today's episode, big mistakes most RIAs make with digital marketing. We're going to be talking about digital marketing for financial advisors. And I just want to dive right in. I've been talking to a lot of advisors over the last few weeks and just really getting a grasp of across the board what so many financial advisors' digital marketing programs look like. And, if you're like a lot of financial advisors, this is about what your digital marketing looks like right now. You've got a decent looking website. You've got a blog maybe that you update when you remember, some articles you've posted on your site. Maybe you have a lead magnet if you're a little bit more advanced when it comes to digital marketing. You've given people a reason to opt in to give you their email address. So maybe you have a free guide or a checklist up. You've got maybe a monthly email newsletter or a sporadic email newsletter. You're occasionally sending out some emails to your audience. You've got semi-regular content being posted online. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have a YouTube channel, maybe you have, some other place that you're posting content out there trying to attract attention to you and build an audience. You've got a LinkedIn profile that's pretty active. You've got a way for website visitors to request a call. Oftentimes, it's just a form where they fill out their name and email address and they're saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you." But you've got a way for them to do it. You've got maybe an email drip campaign that someone set up for you once one time that you haven't really thought about since then, but hey, at least it's sending out some emails to people that sign up for your list. You've got a webinar that you ran once and promised that maybe you'd do it again someday. Maybe you've even helped someone on your team, some outside agency to help with content and with marketing. But all of that isn't really driving the kind of results that you were hoping for from your digital marketing. So the bad news here is that you're still stuck. You might be doing all the right things, but you're still relying on referrals, on word of mouth. All this effort, all this energy, all this time that's been put into digital marketing is not delivering the results that you hoped that it would deliver. And so you're stuck in this hard work of active prospecting. You're spending a bunch of time, wasting time going out and chasing your next new lead and your next new lead and your next new lead, instead of this promise of digital marketing where it's actually inbound marketing where the leads are coming to you. And so all this active time that you're spending or that your advisors on your team are spending, it creates this huge hidden cost in your marketing budget, the soft cost of marketing, which is your advisors, your team members going out and trying to proactively generate those leads through good old fashioned, manual labor, as opposed to the multiplication effort of digital marketing that goes out and brings new clients in the door. And unfortunately, you're probably doing all of this in the middle of a scenario where old marketing methods are dying off, are falling off. So dinner, seminars, and workshops, yeah, they still work. They can still be an effective way to bring people in the door. But maybe they're not working as well as they used to. Maybe it's harder to get people in, harder to get people who say they're going to come to actually show up. Paid lead generation services, and by that I mean the ones where you're actually paying them to just send you the information, send you the lead. You're competing with other advisors for those. You have to be hot on the ball. You have to be the person that contacts them first. You have to be constantly available to be chasing these leads down and trying to differentiate yourself from all the other people who are suddenly talking to them. And even worse, a lot of the traditional big media opportunities that were out there for financial advisors radio shows, TV shows, all of that is in decline because our consumption pattern as consumers of media has moved away from this like broadcast model where we're just tuning into whatever's playing on TV or on the radio and tune in towards this much more focused, digitally distributed media that's on demand and very specific to our own tastes, our own interests. But, you don't have much of a choice here, do you? That new client volume for many advisors is still the major bottleneck. You're in a great place if you have the new problem where you have so many new people who want to do business with you that you're having to solve the operations problem, the fulfillment side of that. But for most advisors, it's not that. The bottleneck is in generating those new clients. And without leads, you really can't grow your advisory. You can't grow your RIA. And you're spending a ton of time on all of these different kind of random activities, but you're not getting the great results that you were hoping for. And all the while, you're probably feeling like digital marketing is a bit of a missed opportunity. The latest stats actually say that the average American is spending 12 hours and 36 minutes per day in screen time. For a lot of us, a lot of that time is work. Yes, we're doing work on our computers. But for a lot of people also, that work time may be limited to 8 or 9 hours per day. And the additional time there is spent consuming other information online, consuming other entertainment online. Digital media is actually 2/3 of our daily use of screens. And so people are constantly paying attention to what is on some kind of digitally distributed content, right? Like this on their screens. They're spending all this time, 8 hours per day, engaging with digitally distributed content on their screens. It's where their attention is. And so it feels like you should be able to translate some of that attention into leads for your financial services business, into new clients as a financial advisor, but it's not working as well as you want. Well, I have bad news and good news. I guess the bad news is that you're probably making at least a couple of these big mistakes, these 5 big mistakes that I'm going to share with you today. That's the bad news. The good news is that when you recognize them, it's the first step towards fixing them. And so if I can hopefully point you in the right direction by helping you identify some challenges you're facing, some mistakes you're making, I can also point you towards the solutions that are going to help. So mistake number 1 here, my note is that financial advisor marketing is stuck in 2010. So when I listen to so many other people who are marketers offering their services to financial advisors, to me, it sounds so much like marketing was prior to 2010, up to about 2010, in that they don't really understand what a marketing funnel is. And this completely changes the game in digital advertising, digital marketing. It changes the game in terms of your ability to generate return on investment, return on ad spend when you're investing in digital marketing. It changes the game in terms of your ability to generate results. It changes the game in terms of your control over the prospect experience, the client experience. It changes the game in so many ways. And it's frankly disappointing to me to look out there and to see and to hear the people who are guiding financial advisors to do this marketing that really doesn't take advantage of all the opportunities that have been created in the last 15 years in marketing through a better understanding of what a marketing funnel is and what a marketing funnel could be. And so one of the things that I hear over and over again is this idea of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And the way that it's used is this like vague BS. It's just BS. Like top of funnel is we have to put out content that gets people aware of different, of who we are, right? Middle of funnel is we have to have some kind of mechanism in place that if somebody comes and chases us down, that they're able to like give us their information and we're able to connect with them. And bottom of funnel is the actual sales process where we're on a discovery call with them. And then we translate that into the conversation that leads to them signing the client agreement. And yes, but it is vague in a way that makes it not nearly as useful and effective as it could be. So let's rewind the clock back to fall of 2013. There's a conference that I was going to on a regular basis, not in financial services, not financial advisors, a marketing conference that I was going to. And this guy, Ryan Dice, who wasn't that popular or that well known at the time, but obviously well enough known to be a speaker at this conference, he sits us down and he starts talking about this thing called a marketing funnel. And Ryan says, all right, here's what you need to do. You actually need to, and he said at this point, we're actually custom coding websites to do this, where you actually get someone to raise their hand for a particular item that they want to get for free. And then once they request that item for free, we give them an offer for something that is a low price entry level product. And then we give them another offer for this product maximizer product. And they're just able to do this one click add-on purchase. And we add these other elements into the funnel. And this was in 2013. He was talking about marketing funnels in a way that wasn't just like, oh, we're going to put out, some content here and some content there and some content there. And we're going to hope that people kind of go through those different steps. He really defined this process that you could draw as a flow chart. And it was, we're going to go, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. We're going to track the conversion rates of each step. We're going to really lay out a path that we expect and hope for people to follow. And we're going to measure how well they actually follow that path that we have laid out for them. And then we're going to optimize for the different steps along the way. And when people get off the path, we're going to do things to get them back on the path. We're going to do different follow-up in that way. And he turned this vague idea of like a marketing or sales funnel into a very specific system that you're able to roll out, and it's designed to get a specific result. And then once you have proven that it gets that result, typically what you're able to do is you're actually able to scale it, because you're able to know that if you invest a certain amount in putting people in the front end, it's going to lead to a consistent, what's now known as cart value coming out the back end of the average person. When they make that first purchase, how much are they going to spend through time? And a year later, a company was launched named ClickFunnels that really created a software version of this that people were able to just roll out very easily on their own. And it really changed the game of especially the type of internet marketing where people are selling products online, where they're able to do these ascending offers and all of that. Now, I am not telling you as a financial advisor that it's smart for you to follow that kind of specific tactical funnel where you have like, a lead magnet and a core offer and one-click upsells on the order form, and then a profit maximizer additional offer that's a one-time offer upsell, and all these gimmicks that were created in the internet marketing world in order to maximize the amount of essentially revenue that you're extracting from each person that enters the funnel. But when you break it down at the principles and the strategy level, what I'm talking about here with a marketing funnel is having that trackable, specific sales process that you actually build out online. Here we're talking about digital marketing, this trackable, specific sales process that walks people through step by step towards the ultimate outcome that you want to achieve. And for financial advisors, for the most part, that ultimate outcome that we're getting them to is what I call the core conversion system, or the core conversion process, which is the discovery call, appointment 1, appointment 2, the actual signing of the client agreement, right? Different advisors are going to have slightly different sales processes, but the point is that's what we're eventually getting them to. And so what does the process move like? What does the process look like? What are the specific steps that we want to move people through to get them up to that point where they are requesting the discovery call with a member of your team, with you as the advisor, whoever is the appropriate person to be taking that discovery call, that person that first encountered maybe some content online, or they first encountered an ad that you put out there, or they first encountered, maybe they're on your email list and they're re-engaging for the first time in a while, that they actually enter this trackable specific sales process, and that you can actually track the movement of someone through this process, and you can optimize for it, and you can increase the results. And all of this came from this idea that, number one, the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. And number two, at the very least, you want to be able to spend $1 and have it come back in a very short period of time. So you can then continue to invest dollars after dollars after dollars in marketing, bringing in new clients all along the way. And it's this very, very results-driven, data-driven approach to marketing and selling, with a system that is able to give you the reliable results where you can then use data to make decisions about how you are doing your digital marketing. And when you're doing this vague, generic marketing funnel stuff that I'm seeing all over the place in financial services, you're like, okay, how much am I going to spend on a podcast this year? And how long am I going to do a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever and hope to get results? God forbid you're actually then putting some money into some paid advertising, some retargeting, all of that. How am I going to do that in this vague, generic way that eventually hopefully leads to clients on the back end? And so when you're essentially letting people wander through the wilderness and hopefully find their way to you, which is what so much of the marketing funnel approach that I see in digital marketing is, that's going to be far less reliable in getting you clients than if you actually build a system, build a marketing funnel in the way that I'm talking about here. So mistake number two, if you think this gets results, you're dreaming. That's a reference to the movie, The Field of Dreams. This is the mistake number two, is the if you build it, they will come content strategy. So one of the most popular forms of digital marketing for financial advisors, and probably with good reason, is content marketing. Because when you actually get the content flywheel working in your favor, basically what you're doing is you're putting out content onto different platforms like YouTube, like podcasts, like social media, where these platforms will distribute that content for free because it's keeping people engaged on the platform, so that they can also sell those people's attention to advertisers who are willing to pay to put ads in front of them because their attention is on this platform. So on these different platforms, they want to put good content that people engage with out in front of those people. And when you make it work, this can be a great way to get a ton of attention. When the algorithm starts to favor you, when it starts to connect you with the people who are the best fit for your content, and which is ideally also the best fit for your services, then content marketing can absolutely work. And so here I'm talking about like this idea, like, we're going to build content. We're going to maybe engage an agency that's going to help us publish YouTube, going to help us publish a podcast, going to help us publish articles, whatever form of content it is. It can be super effective, right? But if you're just believing like, oh, if I just keep putting out content, if I just keep putting out content, if I just keep putting out content, I'm going to start getting clients, you may end up quite disappointed and quite a bit poorer in the long run from that. Number one, if it's going to work, you do need to expect that there's going to be a 6 to 12 month ramp up period where you're still just hoping that it works. So for example, I was talking to an advisor the other day, and they've committed a $70,000 per year contract just to develop content for YouTube. So I have that in my notes here. It's a $70,000 prayer that they're putting out, that hopefully, with a prayer and $70,000 in the offering basket, the universe is going to send back clients that are going to be worth it. Now, the great news about financial services is, honestly, like one client, their lifetime value could easily be more than $70,000. So if you get one client through it, of a handful of clients, 10, 12, 14 clients could easily, with the right net worth and the right model, the right financial money model for your financial advisory, that could make it worth it. It's not hard to make $70,000 off of getting new clients as a financial advisor. But in this case, like it's really just a prayer. They're trying to put out content that looks good, that feels good, that sounds good. And they're hoping that that content is going to bring clients in. Now, what I've seen over and over again and talking to other financial advisors is that the content is often completely misdirected. So I was talking to an advisor and they're saying, yeah, we're just launching a podcast. We're trying to get it going. We want to get as much attention and as many subscribers for this podcast as possible. And so we're out here, we're interviewing people who have big audiences. And we're thinking, okay, if we interview the people who have big audiences, our podcast is going to start to get an audience and we're going to maybe get we're going to get some clients out of it. The problem was the interviews, both content and the specific people that they were bringing on board were not targeted enough towards the people that they wanted to be attracting as clients. And so all that is wasted attention if they get it, because it's all focused on the wrong audience. So it's not just if you build it, you're going to get some clients from it. You have to have it focused on the right audience, for example. And there can be some massive tactical failures with the different content. So I have here in my notes, awareness does not equal results. Awareness does not equal results. Just say it to yourself over and over again. Awareness does not equal results. If I build a bunch of awareness by launching, a song reactions, if I'm a financial advisor and I react to music, right? The reaction channels are big on YouTube. I have some that I like watching for my own favorite musicians or my own favorite entertainment, right? People react and it's fascinating. And so like opera singer reacts to Tool, like a Tool song, right? Okay, that's great. I get to see how this opera singer is reacting to Tool. If I had financial advisors reacting to Tool music or financial advisors reacting to Eminem, or financial advisors reacting to, pick your friggin' music, it's going to attract the wrong audience. And could there be some clients there? Maybe, but that awareness is not necessarily going to drive results. And so I don't want to go too far down this path here, because the additional mistakes that we're going to talk about are going to help you solve this. But you need to understand that when you're creating content, what's called top of funnel in that funnel strategy, if it is not tied to the path that you want them to follow, it's not going to get you the results. Mistake number 3, Zig Ziglar was right all along. This is a reference to Zig Ziglar's book, which really you just need the title, Timid Salesmen Have Skinny Kids. Mistake number 3 here is being afraid to sell, and I have in parentheses tactfully, in digital marketing. It is a mistake if you are afraid to sell in digital marketing. We've got Gary Vee with his jab, jab, hook, or jab, 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 hook formula, where he talks about providing value. He is able to churn out a massive amount of content because he is essentially a content producer above all. There are other services that he provides, but he churns out this massive amount of content. For the vast majority of financial advisors, number one, you're not going to be churning out nearly as much content. But number two, like, his job there as he's being this public content creator is that of an entertainer, right? His job as a content creator is an entertainer. But your job is not entertainer. Your job as a financial advisor is not to entertain. Your job is to connect with your audience, the people who are the best fit for your services, the people who have problems where your services are able to solve them, connect with them, make them feel understood, make them feel like you understand their problem, the challenges they're facing, their fears, their frustrations, their failures, and you can point them towards the solution to those problems, those challenges. You can point them towards how they can fulfill their retirement dreams. So you, unlike an entertainer who needs to get attention for attention's sake, that's not you. You need to get attention of the right people to move those people one step closer towards the solution to the problem, the challenge that they are facing. And in my note here, I have problems are markets, salespeople are problem solvers, marketing is sales multiplied. So I want to break this down here. Problems are markets. That comes from one of my mentors in marketing, Gary Ben-Savinga, specifically pointing to we can define markets in lots of different ways. We can define markets as, demographic, psychographic. We can identify markets as people within a specific geographic area. There's lots of ways that we can identify markets. But when you look at people who are going to buy a particular product or service, let's go with financial services here. They're people who feel like they have a specific problem. So the people that are going to buy tax-driven financial service, financial planning, those people feel like taxes are going to be a problem with their current financial situation, and they're looking for a solution to that problem. And that is a specific market. People who are concerned about whether they're going to get every penny that they are rightfully due from Social Security, that is a different market. Now, there may be a lot of overlap there in the market, in the services that are able to be provided to the markets, but those are different markets. The people who are concerned about their money lasting throughout retirement and their ability to generate income from what they feel like is not as big of a nest egg as it should be, that is a slightly different market. That is a problem that is a market. And so salespeople are problem solvers. That's the next step that I have here. So this speaks to my being afraid to sell tactfully in digital marketing, the tactfully bit. Okay. So if you are speaking to someone in a way where you understand their challenges and you're being empathetic to their challenges that they're facing, and you say, hey, I get it. Like it's hard to feel like you've spent your entire life saving, and then just look at the fact that as soon as you start to pull money out of your retirement account, that Uncle Sam is going to be waiting there with his grubby little fingers, ready to just carve off 20, 30% of your life savings or more, in terms of the taxes that you're going to have to pay on that. And so I understand this problem, this challenge that you're facing, and the frustration in not feeling like you have a good solution. The good news is that I have a solution, that I've identified a solution that can work for you. So salespeople as problem solvers here, that takes away a lot of the classic sales mentality, which, arguably Zig Ziglar was wrong about that too, because Zig Ziglar does come from this classic sales mentality of closing, right? But he also, it's a little bit more complex than that. The classic sales mentality of just like getting money from somebody who is uncomfortable giving it to you just because once you close the sale, you're good. You've got your commission check. You're good, right? That's not financial services selling. It actually leads to bad client relationships. So if we flip it though, and we say, can you be confident? Can you be confident going out there and speaking to someone about the challenge and offering to solve their problem? Then that makes your sales pitch one where it's actually beneficial to the prospect. And so if you're afraid of selling, it's probably because you feel like that person becoming a client is not beneficial to them, right? Or you're somehow taking advantage of them. But if you reposition it as you are there to solve their problem, then there can be tactful ways of presenting that and pointing people in the right direction for that. And the third part of this, problems are markets, salespeople are problem solvers, marketing is sales multiplied. That's my definition of marketing that I get from Claude Hopkins' Scientific Advertising, a book that's over 100 years old, but it's great in terms of understanding that the job of marketing is to do the same job as sales. You're just multiplying it in media. You're packaging up sales message and you're putting it in media. And so selling tactfully in your digital marketing means that you're essentially going through this basic process here. And this goes back to the marketing funnel idea that I talked about, mistake number one. Hey, we're speaking to this problem. We're speaking to this challenge, whether you're putting it out as an ad, whether you're putting it out as content, any kind of digital marketing, we're speaking to this problem. If you are this person that is facing this challenge, that has this uncertainty, that has this fear, that has this doubt, I'm here to help, right? And I have identified what an ideal solution looks like for you. And then we go from problem to solution to resource. So I would like to point you in the direction of a resource that can provide value, that can help you solve this problem. And maybe it's a lead magnet or a client magnet where it's like a free report that they download or some kind of tool like that. Or maybe it is a video that they're able to watch, a webinar that they're able to watch. The point being here that we are pushing them into, maybe we won't use the word pushing, we are tactfully guiding them into the direction, onto the path that we know for people who are a good fit leads to them becoming a client. But right now, all that we're doing is we're offering them the next valuable resource after they have acknowledged that, yes, I'm engaging with this content because I'm struggling with this problem, this challenge, and I'm interested in the solution that you're explaining to me. Okay, so I'm going to go for the resource that you were talking about there in the content, in the advertising. So you can't be timid about telling people what to do. The good news with digital marketing is that's often as simple as pointing them towards the next resource that's valuable. Mistake number 4, if you want reliable results, avoid this model. This model is the big brand model, the image-based advertising model. I have mistake number 4 as buying into the branding BS. And here's what I'll say about it. Like, I come from this long history of direct response marketers, and direct response marketers notoriously have elevated the goal of results above everything else. And frankly, throughout most of direct response marketing, we've put out a lot of pretty ugly marketing. What I'll say is that branding and image does matter, but it doesn't matter nearly as much as you think. A lot of this is based on what the average person is able to achieve with their desktop publishing software. And so in eras where the average person was only able to create really ugly content with their desktop publishing software, things didn't have to look nearly as good. Things could look rather schlocky because a lot of direct response marketing is really about making it feel like one person is communicating with you and that one person is speaking you through essentially the buying decision-making process. Oh, you have this problem, you have this challenge, I have a solution for you, here's how you get it, right? And so branding and image does matter today, but not as much as you think. And you know, an example here being, earlier this year, I helped launch a new guide to filing for Social Security benefits. And it generated hundreds of leads in its first month with a ugly landing page. Got beautiful results, ugly landing page. Even today, it was more about the content and the potential solution. Now, the report itself, the cover of the report was fairly well designed. So there was some pretty factors and some ugly factors here. But ultimately, the message, the content, the solution that we were able to offer was more influential in driving the results that we wanted than the specific design of the landing page or the brand behind it. In fact, we tried to minimize the brand behind it and just make it about the content as much as possible. And this is about the connection with the audience. Now, in some cases, the connection is about a personal connection. It is really great in terms of generating results with digital advertising for someone to feel like there's like a one-on-one connection with the person who is speaking about the offer, is writing about the offer, whatever media it's being delivered as, having what feels more like a one-on-one connection where it's me speaking to you, that's incredibly valuable. Or it's about the connection of I understand exactly what you want and need, and I'm here to provide it to you. I'm here to solve the problem. None of those is about, do we have a brand that looks like this suit and tie brand, this fancy brand? It's more about the personal connection for the person. And branding should be a happy byproduct of their experience with you. And so somebody is going to be far more likely to refer you to their friends because they had a great experience coming in and meeting with you and getting a lot of value and feeling connected with you. And maybe your marketing and your advertising contributed to that experience in another way where they felt like they were being supported in understanding the challenges they were facing and how they needed to solve those challenges, right? All of those things created this positive client experience or this positive prospect experience. They're far more likely to feel like you have a good brand and refer you to their friends than if you just have a fancy, pretty looking website. If I see like one more picture of Wall Street on an investment website, like that's just not, there's no connection there. There's no personal feel there. You do have to look good enough to be trustworthy. And that's tied to what I was talking about with the desktop publishing software, right? You have to look like a good version of what the average person can put out with desktop publishing software. And because today we have like incredible content management systems and design tools and all of that that's available to the average person, there is like an elevation of imagery and appearance that is expected for a lot of content that you put out there, but it does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be great. And frankly, you feel more human, more relatable, more connectable if it is a little imperfect. And so prioritizing branding over everything else is probably going to decrease your results when it comes to digital marketing. Mistake number 5, the last of the 5 mistakes of digital marketing for financial advisors is, I say, don't miss the gold mine right under your nose, not leveraging digital channels for lead nurture and database marketing. Not leveraging digital channels for lead nurture and database marketing. So for the most part, if you have somebody respond to a piece of direct mail, if you had them call in from a radio show or TV content, or if you had them respond via a Facebook ad or sign up for a lead magnet or sign up on your website or even call in, you probably have their email address. And some of those people went on to convert pretty much right away, but a large number of those people did not convert right away. It's not because they would never become a client of you. It's because they did not become a client of you in that moment for whatever reason. So those people now are just existing as contact information within your database that you have permission to reach out to them again. And you should have a very specific strategy designed to drive results for your database of past prospects. This is a massive opportunity. If you haven't been doing it, there's a massive opportunity for almost instant results to send out a few emails to your audience and to say, are you still looking for this particular value that we're able to provide? And there's going to be a large number of them that are going to say yes. And then you, again, with that marketing funnel model in mind, you point them down the path that leads to them actually having that discovery call, that conversation with you. There are lots of different strategies that you can do for database marketing. So you can do regular video content, you can do regular written content, you can do more often than monthly emails. You should probably be doing weekly emails at a minimum. Focus not on how do we sell these people week after week, how do we make offers week after week, but how do we provide some level of value, insight, perspective into the financial situation that they find themselves in right now, looking at the bigger economy, looking at the bigger markets, and looking at specific opportunities for financial planning, the type of financial planning that you provide, but providing consistent value there. And ideally, in terms of marketing, you're going to be spending like 90% of your time providing value to your existing audience, because this is a very low cost and high ROI audience that if you're then just building that audience, and providing that value to that audience, you're going to be pulling clients out of that on a consistent basis. So digital marketing, like, it's so affordable. It drives such high ROI when you're doing it right, that's why I call it the gold mine right under your nose, because you have all of these potential clients sitting there waiting for you. One advisor that worked with 2/3 of their new business every year came from people who had first engaged with them in previous calendar years. Another stat was that webinars to their existing audience were the second most valuable source of new clients, second highest ROI marketing activity behind referrals. And so all of this represents huge potential ROI if you do it right. And a lot of times doing it right, going back to what I was talking about earlier, is just getting them to raise their hand, say, here's a valuable resource. Do you want this right now? And as they are raising their hand and saying, yes, I want that valuable resource, for you, that's a behavioral sign. That's a behavioral trigger that says this person is actively thinking about our types of services right now, and I need to find a way to connect with them and see if they're interested in having a conversation. And there's a lot of specific strategy and a lot of specific tactics that make this work, but you don't want to miss it. That's a huge mistake with digital marketing. So the real cost of all of these digital marketing mistakes is just the time, the money, the mental energy, the opportunity that gets wasted when you don't have a good strategy and system in place, when you're not focused. Like I'm talking about, when you don't have the system in place that's designed to move people that you're engaging with in all these different places towards that act of actually scheduling a discovery call with you and having that conversation with you. And when you have the wrong strategy in place, it's going to get you inferior results. You're going to end up spending way more time and money and energy than you have to for not as big of an opportunity. And so you're going to feel like, okay, we should be getting more from this. And maybe you do feel like we should be getting more from this. We're doing all these things with digital marketing, but it's not adding up to the kind of consistency that we were hoping for. Well, the problem is probably one of effort quality versus effort quantity. If you have the right focused quality of effort, you are much more likely to get the results that you want versus just putting in more and more time, putting in more and more energy, not driving in one consistent direction that's designed to get that results. And you probably need a better system. Going back to the whole funnels thing that I talked about, I feel like this is one of the biggest differentiators for me versus everybody else in this financial advisor marketing space, or at least a lot of people that I see as the well-known people within this financial advisor marketing space is they just don't have the same level of digital marketing thinking. Ryan Dice, who back in 2013, like I went up and I shook his hand and I'm like, I recognize that this is a completely transformational message that you're putting out there, that when you think about marketing funnels in this way, it completely changes the game. And at that point, I was already generating millions and millions of dollars in results for my clients in marketing. But I shook Ryan's hand and I'm like, I recognize a transformational idea when I see it. And I recognize the power of having a system in place like this, that instead of just saying, oh, we're gonna make this offer, or we're gonna make this offer, we're gonna make this offer, we're gonna put this content out, we're gonna put this content out, we're gonna put this content out, we're gonna hope it all works together and gets us the results we want. How do we actually design the system that gets us the result that we want? And so I've actually put together an informational page that's about 90% value and about 10% pitch at TheAdvisorCMO.com/system. That's TheAdvisorCMO.com/system. There'll be a link in the description to it. But that's the kind of better system that I'm talking about here, that when you're doing all the right things, but they're not getting you the result, it's probably because they are not put together into a cohesive system that is designed to drive that result. And that thinking could completely transform the way that you get results with your digital marketing as a financial advisor. And so in wrapping up, this episode of Daily Discovery Calls for Financial Advisors, don't forget to subscribe if you're getting value from these episodes. Subscribe here. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm at Roy Furr. You can search for the Advisor CMO on LinkedIn as well. That is me. And if you want to learn more about the daily discovery calls system, that is the marketing funnel that I'm talking about here, that works for content marketing, that works for paid advertising, that works for database marketing, that brings all of that together to drive actual discovery calls being put on your calendar on a daily basis. If you have enough volume, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. That's at theadvisorcmo.com/system, the daily discovery calls system, theadvisorcmo.com/system. I'm Roy Furr, the Advisor CMO. This is Daily Discovery Calls for Financial Advisors. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Daily Discovery Calls for Financial Advisors. If you got value from this episode, I'd absolutely love it if you do me the favor of sharing it with one other person who you think would also find it valuable. It's how the show can grow and how I can keep bringing this value to you. And if you want to learn more about how you can book more discovery calls with your ideal clients, go to theadvisorcmo.com/podcast.